I'm a bit bummed out because Guild Architect, the game that we're working on right now, we hadn't even announced a release date yet, but we've already had to delay it. And I know the release date that I wanted to go for deep down in my hearts of hearts, and we will not be hitting that. And it's been making me feel a bit bummed out. So I wanted to make this video not just for myself and future me, but also for you guys, the developers who started working on a 3-month project 9 months ago, and it feels like you have another 9 months to go before you're actually gonna complete it, and who knows how many more setbacks you're gonna have. It happens. That's all I can say. I'm used to this at this point, but still, it feels a bit shitty. So here are some tips that I do have if you are in that process of feeling a bit bummed out about your game, not really fully certain what to do now, or just need a little pick-me-up of let's do this, we can do this, just to talk about it. And the first thing I would suggest you do if you are reaching that point where, hey, look man, I just opened my editor and it doesn't feel like I'm making much progress. It doesn't feel like I'm actually reaching what I want. I would suggest doing a mini mid postmortem basically. I made a video about postmortems a while back, how do you do them? But basically what you want to do now is you're gonna take your development cycle from when you started to now and look at everything that has happened. What are some of the wins? What are some of the things that didn't go as well? Where did you lose out on? Maybe you were like, I'm gonna use Godot because screw Unity, and then suddenly Godot has been kicking your ass because it turns out you didn't know how to actually use the engine. That could be something that, hey, I didn't account for, it sucks. Or maybe it's something like, hey, making art sucks. Or in our case as well, we're realizing now that, hey, we wanted to go use the Quibbly shader for like that anime outline effect, but we're running into so many problems with making the shader actually look good, where we're reaching the point of, hey, should we just rewrite it all or whatever, and take a look at those things. What are some of the good things that have happened and what are some of the bad things that have happened? And also, it doesn't just need to be things that you can like point at of like, I should have been a better programmer or whatever. It can also just be other stuff like, hey, life got in the way. Last month, I was deadly sick for 3 weeks basically, where I could, you've probably seen it on camera when I had like this thing on my eye, where I could barely live basically, and I was just lying in bed with 40 degrees Celsius fever, and I was hating my life because I realized like every day that I'm lying here in bed is a day I'm not working on my game, even though I realized like, hey, if I work on it now or I make a video, I'm gonna look horrible and it doesn't make sense. So I understand that, but still, those are things that suck, and those are things that just you should reflect a little bit on and keep that in mind, because these things will probably happen again. I will probably get sick at another point in my life, so may as well look at, okay, what can I do better? What can I do differently to make the most out of it next time, to not have to waste as much time? If I am switching engine, if I am doing more 3D models or whatever, look at what can you improve for your game basically whenever you're going forward now. Take a step back, like if you don't develop for like 2-3 days, and just look purely at this is what's been going on and these are the steps I'll be taking to resolve that. And having all of this basically leads into the second point, and that is seeing where should you adapt? Because like I said, maybe you realize that, hey, I need a custom shader written, or maybe, I don't think we have that problem luckily, but maybe you realized, hey, this game design that I wanted to go for, it's not really as fun as I imagined it to be. It's harder to develop than I imagined it to be, for example. There could be so many things wrong with it, so many things that you want to improve, that maybe now is the point to look back at, okay, did I massively overscope my game? Okay, how am I going to cut back? Maybe I'm gonna cut multiplayer support, maybe I'm gonna cut modding support, or something else that honestly, your first game or whatever game you're working on doesn't really need to have 20 hours of content, for example. You can definitely scale that back if you're planning on actually releasing your game at some point. One other thing that we might have to look into now, adapting wise, is not actually related to the development of the game, like code-wise, mechanic-wise and things like that, but it's actually where, hey, because of that delay, we're overshooting our runway and we need to maybe look into something like getting a publisher if we want to actually make sure that this game sees the light of day. Those are things that are also adapting, and will we succeed in it or whatever? I don't know. I'll talk a bit more about the money stuff in a second, don't worry about that. But those are also things you need to consider, where maybe I need to find more people to help me. Maybe I need an actual artist, because you guys are like, oh, your color palette sucks. We had artists making the props and things for us, but still, it seems like I can never please the backseat artists in our game. And maybe sure, it doesn't look great, but I think it looks all right. So for now we're good. But maybe for your game. I'm not gonna pull up b-roll of like bad looking games that I can find online because it's just mean, so you can just stare at my face instead and comment how bad I look. But maybe you should look at, hey, instead of making my own models, using asset packs or whatever, or instead of using asset packs, find an artist. So many things you can do here. Use the data you get from that mini post-mortem in the middle, I don't know, mid-mortem. Use that data basically, your findings there, to maybe see how should I change course. And this next tip is actually a bit more related to the human side of development, and that is that if you haven't had the opportunity, get someone else to play your game. And I'm not talking about this from a playtesting aspect and fixing bugs, finding UX issues and things like that. I'm talking about this purely from the fact that you can look at someone else play your game and they're mildly interested or whatever. This is probably one of the biggest sources of motivation you can get to keep working on your game and not want to just crawl into an endless pit of despair. Just seeing someone else play your game, because you're personally so deep into the sauce and you see how the sausage is made that you often forget what is actually going on. Is this game fun? Why am I working on this? All of that stuff. And it can sometimes be just beneficial to see, hey guys, can anyone play my game? And just be like, give me some feedback. Do you like this, yes or no? And most of the time, probably, I trust that you guys aren't absolute shit game developers and someone will probably still enjoy your game. A great point here that I do want to plug as well is our own Discord server, which is, if you ask me, the friendliest game dev Discord server you can find. So if you hop in there and you share an itch.io build of your game or whatever, don't just send the .exe, people don't like that. And just ask like, hey, can anyone give this a go and give me some feedback? There's always people in there who are more than glad to play your game and give you some constructive, helpful feedback of, these are things I like about the game. And it sounds dumb, but this is going to make you feel so much better because it's not just you anymore, but other people also want your game to see the light of day. And it just gives me at least a lot of motivation to keep going. It's been a long time at this point since we've done our last playtest. So either we need to gear up for another playtest or I just need to find someone and corner them basically and force them to play our game. I'll still see what we'll be doing, probably not immediately a playtest because it puts a lot of extra strain on the rest of the team, but whatever it is, I need someone else to play our game basically. And then at the end of the day, it's also important to just remember that, hey, these things happen and it's better to just stay flexible. The reason we originally chose that release date, which I don't think I actually said, we were aiming for November, like November 11th or whatever. The reason we chose that was because around that period is when our runway basically dries up. We kind of calculated Bite Me Games can, at our current financial state, exist until November with us working there full time. After November, it's more up in the air of, am I gonna have to go back to corporate life and finish the game, working on it on the side? I don't know about that, but that's why we really wanted to release it before then, because that is also, when taking into account like Steam takes 2 months before payout and everything, we needed to release before then. But it's gotten more and more obvious the past few months that that's simply not feasible. There's too many game mechanics we still need to program, and the rest of the team, they're working hard on the game, they're not slacking off. But it's just that making a game is fucking hard at the end of the day, and it just takes time. And I think my fault was, despite already having released or like worked on 2 games and having to like cancel them and delay them multiple times, I still didn't realize or like prepare myself mentally that, hey, these things happen. Calculate in like safeguards and whatever, where you know on time, hey, I need to reschedule. Hey, I can reschedule as well. I was not prepared to reschedule. That's my fault. I should have been more prepared just in advance that, hey, look, I can plan everything I want. At the end of the day, no plan survives being punched in the face. And in this case, Guild Architect has just sucker punched me to the moon, basically. That's my fault. And I should just be like, hey, this new date, which is somewhere probably Q1, Q2, 2025, may still change as well. I seriously hope not, but I don't know what's gonna happen. Once again, this is also why we're looking for publisher funding, because we need to bridge that gap between our runway running dry, basically, and being able to release the game. Because right now, I love my patrons, shout out to my patrons, but it's not enough, similar with AdSense. It just doesn't stack up enough yet to make sense that we can keep going after November, basically. But at the end of the day, I think the most important thing that you should do is just keep at it. That's honestly the best thing I can tell you. If you're in game development, you didn't choose this because it's easy money. If you did, oh my God, you're stupid. I think that's what I've realized now as well. You probably did this because you want to make games. You have a bigger passion for it. You grew up playing games. You feel like you have the skills now, you want to try it out for yourself basically. And that is great. That is what gives you that motivation to keep going. That's what makes me want to keep going as well. I'm not in here just for the money, despite what some people might think. I'm not like a descendant of EA Games, but it is something that, hey, look, you're gonna have these ups and downs. This is just me talking to future me if I see this video. It's gonna suck at certain points and it's gonna feel great at other points as well, but you never know how you're gonna feel tomorrow. So just keep going at it, and at the end of the day, you will end up with a released game. This is normal with game development, so don't stress it. Keep working on your game day in and day out and you'll get there. So I'm curious, what was the original scope for a game? Like, how long were you planning on developing on it? How long has it been now? And how much are you estimating you still have to go? I'm really interested in your game progress, or maybe lack of progress, for like maybe a bit more of a sad way to say it, but I am still very interested in it. So if you could leave a comment down below, I read all of your answers and it just makes me also feel like we're all in this together, maybe. Apart from that, if you're new here, we're game developers, as you may have noticed, and we make 2 videos every week talking about game development and the entire process of making games, the things we learn along the way, and just bring you along for the ride. We show you the ups and downs, we show you all of the numbers, we don't hold anything back. So if that is something that you're interested in, be sure to head down below and subscribe, as it just makes me happy. I'm a superficial being and seeing the number go up is basically what gives me my joy to keep going at the end of the day. So once again, if you could head down below and subscribe, really thank you so much for doing so. If you are already subscribed, great, thanks for that. Apart from that, thank you so much for watching as well, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!